Hey everybody, my name is Lindsay Whitmore. I'm going to be your instructor for Women, Culture, and Society over this winter session in 2014. Welcome to the class. I wanted to put together this kind of brief video just to sort of establish a connection between us to begin. As you all know, this is a hybrid class, which means we'll be meeting in an online format for the first 4 sessions. And then after that, beginning January 2nd, we will meet together in class twice a week. And then the other 3 sessions of that week will be online. So, with that being said, I wanted to just kind of give some overview of how the class itself is going to work in order to confront any confusion or questions that we have right off the bat. So, our first session is Monday, tomorrow, December 23rd. And for that session, I'm going to ask everyone to log into the eCollege platform, which can be found by checking out the website onlinelearning.rutgers.edu/ecollege. And there's a button on the left side of that screen called Student Login, which will bring you to another screen called Pearson Learning Studio eCollege Student Login. And if you click on the top link on that page, it'll say Login with your Rutgers Net ID. And so there you should be able to put in your net ID and password and access the kind of main platform through eCollege that we're going to be using for the course over this winter session. And so if anyone has any problems with accessing that right off the bat, please do let me know right away, because it's really important that we get everyone logged in tomorrow so that we can kind of start the class with the readings and the work on December 26th, which will be our next session after tomorrow. So for tomorrow's class, I'm just going to ask you all to log in for the first time. And then as you'll see when you log in, there's a link on the left side on the sidebar that's labeled Introduction 1223. And a link underneath that heading that says Introduction Discussion. So if you click there, there'll be 3 threaded discussion forums listed. One called Class Introduction, one called 3 Communities Activity, and one called Short Video and Response. So for tomorrow, you're responsible for clicking through each of those forums and posting your reply. The first one is just a sort of general introduction about yourself, what year, what major, a minor if you have one, what sort of brought you to the class. All of those questions are posted right there in the forum. So please definitely post your introduction. The second is a brief activity, which I'm calling 3 Communities Activity, which will kind of get us thinking about the different sorts of collectives that we belong to. And there's some more specific details for what I'm asking of you in that activity. And then the third thing is a kind of short video that I've posted a link to, and some questions that I'm asking you to answer after watching that video. The video is about 7 minutes, so not a particularly time-intensive activity, but it's something that I think will start us getting thinking about how I'm hoping to confront the issue, the topic of feminism throughout this semester. So that's what's on board for tomorrow. Logging on to eCollege, posting your introduction, responding to the 3 Communities Activity, and then doing the short video and response. And those are all located on the discussion forum prompt section on eCollege. So also on eCollege, you'll notice under the Course Home tab a syllabus link. So if you click that syllabus link, it'll bring you to the sort of in-depth overview of what this class looks like. It's got, and you can kind of look at this as I'm going through it as well, because I think it might help to kind of follow along. This is what I would do the first class if we were typically meeting together. So, I'm very aware that everyone here can read, but I think it is helpful to sort of hear it laid out a little bit more explicitly, especially since we won't be meeting in face to face until the 2nd of January. And we'll have already had 4 sessions before that point. So I'm going to run through the syllabus, and if you have any questions about any of this stuff during as I'm sort of reviewing it, definitely feel free to email me. I'm going to be very available on email. I can be reached at Lindsay, that's Lindsey .Whitmore, WHITMORE, at Rutgers.edu. And like I said, I'm going to be very available, especially because this is a winter session online hybrid class. So my office hours, which I'll begin to hold when we have face-to-face sessions, will be on Tuesdays from 12 to 1 at the Rutgers Student Center Cafe on College Ave. And so definitely feel free to come and chat with me if you would prefer a sort of in-person connection outside of the classroom. But otherwise, all inquiries can definitely be sent to me through email. The course is going to function as a sort of introduction to the interdisciplinary field of women's and gender studies. And we'll work critically, collaboratively, excuse me, and with a feminist lens to ask how formations of gender, sex, and sexuality have been contested and constructed through time, especially in relation to things like race, class, ethnicity, ability, age, and nation. And so we're going to be thinking especially about how knowledge, power, oppression, and difference structure conversations, both popular conversations and theoretical conversations about the body, social media, popular culture, identity, community, and violence, to name just a few. So there's a set of core questions that I'm hoping we'll look at together this semester or this session, which include what kinds of norms shape our shared and separate experiences in the world? How are these norms linked to the formation of our own identities? In what ways are gender and sexuality connected to other forces such as racism, popular media, social class, and global capital? Are there alternatives? Alternatives to gender norms, to the structures of society and culture as we know them now? How do we, as individuals and as parts of specific communities, negotiate networks of power and control? And in what ways are those networks present in our understandings of popular culture? How can popular culture and popular media escape and transform those networks? So that's just sort of a brief overview of what we're going to be doing or trying to do together over the course of this semester. In terms of the required, there's also a piece on the syllabus about the ways in which this course meets the SAS learning goals. And so it talks about why this class meets the 21st century challenges learning goals, which some of you may be here for specifically. Maybe not all of you, we'll see. So in terms of required texts for the class, there's nothing outside that you have to buy, no course reader, no textbook. Basically, it's going to be composed of the readings and other sort of multimedia texts that I make available online. So typically there'll be links to download readings that are due each day. Sometimes you'll watch videos, sometimes you'll watch films, and there'll be information about how to access those at the kind of individual entry date on eCollege for each class session, which I'll talk more about in a minute. So in addition to those assigned readings, which are accessible on the sidebar, in eCollege. I've also posted sort of an overview for each class. The overviews aren't outlines of the readings, but they're sort of supplementary readings that will give you kind of a deeper understanding of some of the issues involved in the readings and the class discussions, and I'm hoping it'll kind of help you situate those readings in a larger context. I might also include links to things like the biographical information about the thinkers that we're discussing, or any other kinds of source materials. So, in addition to the more sort of typical class readings, these overviews are also going to be required reading for each class. And often there's some links kind of embedded in each of those overviews, which are also responsible for looking at, some of them are longer articles, like you're not responsible for reading all of those articles, but at least sort of being familiar with what it is. So I'd like you all to kind of click on each of the links and just see what it is. If something strikes your fancy, definitely, feel free to read the whole thing, watch the whole video, whatever it is. But reading the overviews and taking a look at the source materials is required along with the course readings. And you can definitely feel free to post any sorts of questions or concerns about them in the discussion thread for each week. So that's a basic overview of what texts you're required to engage with. In terms of how the readings and stuff work, so there are, like I had mentioned before on eCollege, there are individual pages for each class session that are located on the sidebar, which are accessible by clicking on the tab that lists the date for that particular session. So for our first class of readings, you'll notice under week 1, there's a link that's called Thursday, December 26th. So you'd click on that link. There's a thing that says today's readings with 2 linked articles there. That's where you find the readings that are due for that day. And then right underneath that is the sort of supplementary materials that I'm talking about. So that means for class on Thursday, 12/26, you should read either on or before the 26th, Fear of Feminism and Feminism, a Movement to End Sexist Oppression. Okay, so I hope that's clear in terms of what you're responsible for and kind of where to find it. So now I want to talk a little bit about the structure of the online class and the kind of expectations that I have for all of you in terms of participation. So for the online sessions, you don't need to be logged into the course shell at any particular time to meet as a group. We're not going to have kind of a live or simultaneous session. The work you all sort of do on your own time, but it is due by a particular time of the day. So for each online session, you'll be responsible for reading and completing assignments on eCollege by 5 p.m. on the day of that particular class session. And there's 3 sort of main responsibilities for each day's participation. The first is completing the reading and other multimedia elements listed on that day on the reading schedule. And so, like I mentioned, the readings are located as links on the individually dated pages for each session on the sidebar in eCollege. And in addition to these readings, make sure to read the overview for that session and take a look at any other linked materials. Then you're responsible for visiting the discussion prompts forum, which is included at the end of each week's material on the sidebar. So you'll see on eCollege there's a sort of area that says week 1, it lists the days, Thursday, Friday. The weeks are organized kind of strangely in the first because it is there's some sort of days missing. So I'm counting the first week as Thursday, December 26th, Friday the 27th, Monday the 30th, and Friday the 3rd. And that also includes Thursday the 2nd, which is our first in-class session. So at the end of that list, there'll be a discussion prompts week 1 discussion forum listing. And this is where you'll find the prompts for each of the online sessions that we'll be doing together. So for each class session, you'll log on to eCollege after you've done the reading and read the prompt posted for that day's session. And you're responsible for posting a reply to that prompt that I'll provide by 5 p.m. that same day. Okay, so that's the main deadline. By 5 p.m. every day that we have an online session, you should have read the material listed for that day and posted your reply on the discussion forum by 5 p.m. And I'll give you a little bit more information on kind of what those responses or replies look like. In addition to replying to the prompt, you're also responsible for making 2 comments on other students' responses. So that's the second component, commenting on at least 2 other students' responses. So I will post a prompt by 9 a.m. on the day of the class session. So for, the first time that you're really responsible for this is Thursday the 26th. So by 9 a.m. at Thursday the 26th, I'll post a discussion prompt and you'll be responsible for posting your reply to that. So in terms of length, this is a collective assignment that everyone is sort of participating. So that means you'll be reading and responding to each other's stuff. So in terms of length, substantive but not too long is a good guideline. Somewhere between 300 and 700 words for a response is a good approach, but I'm asking you to post at least 250 words in order to receive credit for the assignment. So you read the prompt, craft a response of at least 250 words to that prompt. Also, you must comment on 2 other students' responses. There's no length requirement for these responses, but it's an important opportunity to sort of interact and discuss responses with your classmates. So 1 or 2 sentences will probably not be sufficient. I'd like you to comment sort of thoroughly, and these comments will be a part of your participation grade. So all of this is due by 5 p.m. On the day of the class session. So that's the main structure of the online component. On the syllabus, there's some more in-depth information about what that looks like. For in-class sessions, you do not need to log on to the eCollege platform to post any responses to prompts. So that's Thursdays and Fridays after January 2nd. Instead, you just have to come to class having read or watched the material for that day and be sort of ready to participate in the discussion. A second aspect of the online portion of the class is making 2 posts per week to the shared class Tumblr. So this is something that I've designed because issues of feminism and things kind of pertinent to women's and gender studies circulate so widely on the internet today, really creating communities of support, activism, and debate that are central to understanding how gender and sexuality function in the virtual and the real worlds that we live in. So in order to tap into this kind of rich online platform, we're going to create and maintain a class blog via Tumblr that reflects the issues that we read and discuss throughout the course. So you're responsible for making a total of 2 posts to the shared Tumblr each week. I'm officially splitting the class into 3 weeks, so you'll be required to post a total of 6 times to this shared Tumblr. And that's beginning, this week. So between the dates of 12/23 and January 3rd, you should have posted twice to the Tumblr. Between January 6th and 10th, twice, and between the 13th and 17th, twice. There's some instructions for how to post to the Tumblr on the syllabus, which you all can read. And if you have any questions, definitely be in touch about. So turning in the responses and the Tumblr posts on time is your responsibility. I'm going to keep the discussion threads open for 24 hours after their due dates. If you submit an assignment during that time, you'll only receive half credit. So the highest grade is then a 2.0, which I can talk about in a second in terms of how stuff's going to be graded. And it's your responsibility to ensure that you have enough time to submit an assignment, even if you have computer problems. Any issues with eCollege or other online stuff can be taken up with the relevant technical support systems. And Tumblr posts that are not posted within the week that they're due will not count for credit either. So in terms of the kind of core requirements for the course, I've talked about discussion responses, the comments on other students' posts, and the Tumblr. That's going to count for 30% of your grade. 50% of your grade is attendance and participation, which I take pretty seriously, especially because this is an online class, and that kind of active participation is really necessary for making this learning environment, relevant and useful for everybody that's kind of taking part in this. So there's some more information about attendance and participation on the syllabus. Attendance is mandatory. Coming to class for our in-class sessions more than 20 minutes late will be considered an absence. However, each student will be allowed one unexcused absence over the course of the winter session. And you can take that absence either for an in-class session or an online session. And an absence for an online session means that you don't respond to the prompt or comment on any other student's responses on any given day. There's a note on participation, which I would definitely encourage you to take into consideration pretty fully. So that's the attendance and participation section, and then the final presentation is the other 20% of your grade. And so at the end of the session, you'll be required to submit a final project that engages with your experiences over the course of the winter session. And this is an opportunity to kind of go in a direction that you're more interested in. I'm not going to sort of go super into the final presentation right now because I will talk about it more in our in-class session on January 3rd, I believe it is, January 2nd. So yeah, we'll talk more about that later. So in terms of grading, so it's 50% is attendance and participation, 30% is your discussion portfolio, which is made up of your discussion responses and your comments on other students' posts, and then the Tumblr, and then the other 20% is your final presentation. And there's some more in-depth information on how I'm going to be grading the discussion portfolio and your final presentation. Basically, I'm looking for three main areas: analysis, critique, and organization. So in terms of a grade for your discussion posts, I'm going to be looking at first your ability to kind of analyze the course material by identifying key themes, passages, and theories or perspectives that contribute to the overall meaning of a text. So in your response, definitely include, references to quotes, identifying key themes, thinking about the theories and perspectives that an author or a writer is drawing on. That's the first area that I'm going to be grading you on. The second is critique, which is your ability to offer a kind of thorough critique of the course material by relating that material to other course material and to the larger topic or theme at hand. So this means things like giving your own opinion or response to a text, putting texts and material in conversation with each other, or suggesting ways in which a text fits into a larger framework of women's and gender studies. And then the third is writing an organization, which is your ability to structure the assignment properly so you met the length requirements or the other guidelines that I've laid out, Also, the organization of your argument. So, you offer appropriate passages from the texts to support the claims that you're making. You use precise and specific language. And then the third is to express meaning effectively, which has to do with following language conventions like punctuation, spelling, word choice, and really communicating clearly. Um, so for each of these elements in each of your discussion posts, I'm going to assign you a grade from 4 to 0. So 4 being excellent, 3 being, good, 2 adequate, 1 poor, and 0 you didn't complete the assignment. And so I'll basically, assign a number grade for each of those components: analysis, critique, and organization. And all three numbers will be averaged together to determine the grade for that particular assignment. And if folks have questions about how this works, we can definitely be in touch and talk more, but that's kind of the basic overview. So there's also some details about academic integrity and plagiarism on the syllabus. So take a look at that. And then also some more info on disability support services. And so if you need accommodations, you've gotten accommodations in the past, definitely come and talk to me, and we can, work something out, or, contact disability services directly if that's what you feel more comfortable doing. And then after that is the reading schedule. So this is sort of where we're going. I've organized the class, with particular themes in mind, which I can talk more about during our first session together. But our first session that's not on Monday is Thursday, 12/26. And as I mentioned before, there's 2 readings and then a Tumblr to take a look at. And I will be posting that prompt for you by 9 a.m. on Thursday, 12/26. And so I'll be looking forward to your responses. And if I don't hear from you by the end of the day tomorrow about having posted in the forums the answering the 3 prompts that I've posted for the first session, which you don't have any reading for. This is just doing what it says to do. I will be in touch with you because it's really important that we get everyone kind of squared away and ready to go as soon as possible. So I think that about covers it. I look forward to meeting you all both online and in class. And as I said, if you have any questions, definitely feel free to contact me. Okay? So I will sign off. I'm Lindsay Whitmore, your instructor and co-captain on this experience. And best of luck. I'll talk with you all soon. Bye.